They're going to disappear, and so is people's money, and there's going to be a lot of fraud and corruption around cryptos. I see two very large record-breaking blizzards. I have visions that remind me very much of the first attack that happened in Iraq when the United States went into Iraq. And any remnants of this leader is going to be destroyed by the people within that country. Maybe it's going back to Mexico, perhaps. That just kind of came to mind. Now through 2027, we are going to see major shifts and changes in leadership across the globe. What is in the Mesa on Skinwalker Ranch? But I feel that there's something that is coming up around the Jackson family. Spirit shows me a vision of both popes. Both previous popes, that is, Pope Benedict and Pope Francis. But come 2026, friends, 2026 is going to be a huge year and focus when it comes to infrastructures across the globe. That includes power grids, Spirit just said in my ear. Don't forget the power grids. I saw it crack open and this massive tsunami wave broke through, submerging villages down below and the water washing away thousands. Good day, beautiful souls. I do indeed hope that you are having an amazing day so far. Welcome back to my Love Shack studio. And if you're new here, my name's Joseph Tittel, aka Spiritman JT, spiritual medium here to bring you specific visions and predictions for the future. And if you are new here, and I welcome you all back to the channel if you are not new, and if you are new, welcome to the channel. If you want accurate predictions, prophecy, and truth, be sure to smash that subscribe, the bell, and all so that you get notifications. Today, I'm going to go through a list of over a dozen specific visions and predictions, along with answering some of the questions. But do hold your questions, because I already have them. So no questions, especially in the live chat room. People keep repeatedly asking questions each week. That is not the place. The place is in the comments. I already have enough questions, so I wouldn't put any in the comments quite yet. Other than that, do give it a thumbs up, because that does help the algorithms show that you like this kind of content, so that my content and similar content shows up on your feed. It also helps the channel and helps our tribe to grow. Down below in the description, you'll find the links to all my social media platforms, including the Subscribe Star Awaken Your Spirit community of supporters who help make this free content possible. You can join that community. You can be a monthly supporter on the YouTube community by joining. Not subscribing, there is a difference. But do subscribe, especially if you watched much of my content already and you're not already a subscriber. Please help the channel and hit that subscribe button right now. And let us move on to some very specific visions and predictions for the future and even moving into 2026. I see something really concerning happening around ice sheets. Ice sheets, icebergs, and other strange events that are going to take place around ice and around the Arctic both. Likely, I would believe and feel that this is going to be a result of warm temperatures, of course. And I also had a vision of this large glacier giving away on a big mountain. Didn't that just happen in Switzerland or Sweden or one of those places recently? Kind of like that. I saw it giving way, causing this huge avalanche of ice that unfortunately would cause several people to be unalived, coming very close to a little village. And I believe this is probably in the northern parts of Europe, where I see this vision of this big, giant glacier giving way. Let's hope that's not the case, but it feels to me like there's going to be a lot of big issues around ice, glaciers in the Arctic in 2026. I see two very large, record-breaking blizzards. That's right, friends, blizzards. Sweeping across the land, causing major issues, locking people into their homes for many days, causing alarm for especially the homeless, which will be responsible for causing, again, many dozens to be unalived. There's two storms that I saw. One of these storms is going to be responsible for, again, taking many lives, perhaps 77 in all. I kept getting the number 77. And one of these storms starts as rain. Then it turns to ice. And then it's topped off with this very heavy, heavy snow that ends up in turn causing roofs to collapse inwards. Problems with a bridge that I saw with this storm. And I feel the other storm that I see, I feel is sweeping across Europe. So that first one I described as the United States, Canada as well. The other one's sweeping over Europe. perhaps the United Kingdom, Paris, and all the way up towards Ireland and Scotland. Big giant storm. One of these storms that I saw, and I had a vision of it in the past, looked like this. It looked like a hurricane storm, like a hurricane snowstorm. I don't know what you would call that other than a blizzard. And I feel one of these is going to be in late January, maybe the third week of January. And the other one felt to me like it's some point in early February. So get those snow boots ready, friends. Get those snowshoes and snow boots ready to go. This is a strange one, but I feel that there's something that is coming up around the Jackson family. That's right, Michael Jackson, friends. Michael Jackson and family. Multiple events, and this came to me today, this morning, and I'm recording this on Thursday, November 20th, to be exact. And I did look up because I wasn't sure about Catherine Jackson. I thought they were all passed already, but nope, she's still alive. And I see multiple events that are going to affect the Jackson family very strongly, including some type of feud or legal issues. Catherine Jackson, when I looked her up, she's 95 years old. God bless her. 95 years young, we can say, and likely we are going to see her passing in the coming year. That would make sense, and that could cause the legal issues. That could all make sense. Not sure. This is just, analyzing the visions and the feelings that I got. Spirit just kept showing me Michael Jackson and then the whole family in a group picture. So I feel like, again, drama and things breaking out with the Jackson family. And we're going to be hearing a lot about them, the whole Jackson family, in the very near future. And throughout 2026. Probably by the end of this year. But again, especially in 2026. And this just came to mind. I wouldn't be surprised if we find out something in these Epstein files revolved around one of the Jacksons. People might think it'd be Michael, but what if it was Joe Jackson? Would make sense, wouldn't it? So we'll just have to keep our eyes peeled closely on the Jackson family. I see huge clashes coming in multiple countries with the immigrants. And we're having those clashes already, but I see really, really huge clashes, mainly the Islamic immigrants. Because people are becoming very fed up in many countries, while also starting to realize that there's this takeover that's happening. And I mean, you got to be blind not to see it. Look at, for example, here in the United States, look at places like Dearborn, Michigan. If you don't know what's going on there, take a closer look it up for yourself. But there's this takeover that's been happening for many years now. And look at the UK as well, United Kingdom, Ireland, and again, Dearborn, Michigan. I see a vision of very large fires. These fires look like both religious places of worship, but mostly mosques. But I also see fires around synagogues as well. And that just came to my mind. Big things around synagogues. So there's going to be some type of attack. I wouldn't say attack, but protests and fires towards not just the Islamic, but also connections to Israel. So that all just comes to me now. And I feel something really big, again, going back to Dearborn, Michigan, something really big is brewing there. I mean, there were just riots there and such, but something even bigger in the way of, there were protests, not riots. Something bigger would be in the way of riots. And even I saw a vision of some type of explosion taking place, which may be exploding a vehicle of some sort or vehicles connected to this. And in turn, I see these large fear attacks that are going to take place across the United States and European allied countries. And I've been seeing this for quite a few years, friends, as you know. And I feel we are closing in on these tragic events taking place. And 2026 would mark off a time where these chaotic situations do take off. Revolutions are going to ignite like never before as we step into 2026. We just recently witnessed the clashes in Mexico between the Gen Z generation and the government, the president to be exact. And this is just the beginning, friends, as folks are going to demand that the president of Mexico, who isn't even Mexican, by the way, likely put there by Israel, as people are claiming. I mean, she is of that belief system. Perhaps they put her there. And isn't it interesting they put her in place, and she's in place now, and look at the chaos that's breaking out. And she's one of their people, friends. I guarantee you she's one of Israel's people. But she's also connected to the cartel as well. And interesting, again, as I said, how she comes in and everything goes wild, as they very well should. It's time for people to step into their power and take their power back. And sadly, I see a lot of bloodshed to be blunt, on the streets of Mexico, as more and more people are going to stand up against this leader and against the cartel specifically. The cartel will come into areas, little cities or towns on a mission to instill fear upon the people, probably in some of these protest situations. And the people are going to demand that she is removed and new elections take place. Her life will also be in danger. Of course, it already is. And I feel one way or another, the president of Mexico is going to be forced out of position sometime in the near future or sometime by the end of 2026. I see a massive fire taking place in a city that I believe may actually be New York City. Could even be Chicago as well. But I feel it's related to a gas explosion of some sort, which I wouldn't even believe that they would have gas in those big buildings. But I guess they do. It felt like a gas explosion to me. And it ignited a high-rise building on fire. Big fire. Like, it was huge. This feels like a residential building to me, too. Like, people live in this building. And it's at least 13 stories or higher, is what I felt. Might even be just 13 stories. This is definitely during the winter months because in my visions, everything was turning to ice from spraying the fire, from the firefighters spraying the fire. Everything was ice. The road was all ice. There was ice coming off the electrical lines, and it was pretty bad. So it had to be really cold. That's why maybe it may actually be Chicago, because Chicago gets much colder than New York City does. Although New York City is going to get a taste of that cold this year. And I feel this is bad. This is a bad accident that takes place. I don't feel like it's intentional. I don't feel like I do feel like there is a connection somehow to the number 11 and the number 13. Not sure how that's going to play out. And I see someone in the visions hanging out of the window, like in an attempt to escape the smoke and the flames. And then I saw something falling from high up, like the flames were going up. I saw something falling. And I'm certainly hoping that wasn't somebody, jumping out to escape the flames. It just was a little disturbing. Also, I feel like that December, this may be late December or within the first 2 months of the new year. And I'm not sure why, but I feel like it's an important window of time from December to February when it comes to large fires in large buildings. I see another fire like that happening in Dubai that just came to my mind. So be careful, friends, in the coming months, the next 3 months when it comes to fire or anything related to fire. Next year, the globalists are going to strongly push out the carbon tax initiative and a tracking system limiting people's carbon output. We know they're working on it, or at least I know they're working on it. I hope you do too. And I'm not clear what country I'm in that this is going to be rolling out at some point in 2026. They'll say as an experiment. But I am sure that what's going to come from this is massive protest, as they should. A massive resistance that will come from the people. That's what needs to happen. Because they can still fly their private jets, but they don't want you eating meat or sucking up your carbon. And they're already putting labels on things with the carbon. So they're preparing for this, friends. And next year is where it's going to go into place. And I know that in my visions and my feelings, I'm certainly somewhere in Europe. Definitely, maybe Germany, perhaps the United Kingdom. They're just guesses, by the way. Not sure. But we're going to find out soon enough. Way too soon for their slave tactics to be kicking in. Where do you think it could be? Let me know in the comments down below. I've said this in the past, and I'm going to say it again today because it's coming to me really strongly this past week. I see the arrests of high-profile people taking place. And we can only imagine that this would be maybe in relation, we can hope that it's in relation to the Epstein files. And the people, us, the people's push for justice to take place. We saw all the gals that stepped forward recently, and we know the files are coming out soon. I'm sure they'll be doctored, but they're coming out. Maybe it's related to that. At least we can hope it is. But I also feel that this is related to a whole ring of corruption that's taking place. Starting here in the United States, but spreading across the globe as far as the arrests are concerned. So I don't just see arrests happening here. I see arrests happening in other countries as well. Some of it's going to be leaders, whether it's the leader of the country, the leader of the city, or a leader of a big company or CEO. I see arrests taking place around Wall Street. Wall Street corruption. There's something big with Wall Street corruption and a big bust that's going to happen around that. Some of this actually reminds me of Bernie Madoff. You remember that guy? He made off with everybody's money until he got caught. Well, it kind of reminded me of that. So is it another Bernie Madoff or arrest happening or something else with corruption around Wall Street? I'll have to watch that really closely. And I also feel like there's some type of an arrest taking place around the realm of cryptocurrencies, into the realm of cryptocurrencies. It kind of reminds me of Sam Bankman-Fried, that guy, with the whole feeling. So, and I've been warning that a lot of these cryptos are going to disappear big time. They're going to disappear, and so is people's money, and there's going to be a lot of fraud and corruption around cryptos, which is going to cause countries and things to, of course, instill rules and regulations around crypto, and also to ensure that they get the tax money that you make from your crypto. Eventually, I feel a few years down the road, it's only going to be a couple strong cryptos that take place. All those little ones will mean nothing, and they'll all just dribble away and melt away eventually. I have visions that remind me very much of the first attack that happened in Iraq when the United States went into Iraq. When they remember the visions, some of you, I'm sure a lot of you do remember, and were there for that, when they were tipping over the statues of Saddam, and pulling them through the streets. I also see what reminds me of them hanging the hanging of a leader, like they did with Saddam Hussein. So I'm not sure why exactly Spirit would bring up these past reminders. I can only interpret these as there's some type of an event coming up in the future where a country's leader is going to be ousted, kind of like Saddam Hussein was. Pictures and any remnants of this leader is going to be destroyed by the people within that country. Maybe it's going back to Mexico, perhaps. That just kind of came to mind. And they're likely, I don't see them hanging her, though. That's different. But I do see in this situation the same, again, if Spirit's showing me Saddam, the whole way it played out, I feel like we're going to have a repeat of that history happening in a different country. Perhaps it may actually be even in Syria, because that kind of comes to mind. But whoever it is, they're going to be hung out to dry, if you know what I mean. Totally. And that, Syria comes to mind, but I would also certainly like to believe that this would be somewhere in the Middle East. But it could be, Venezuela comes to mind too. I could be wrong. Just my feelings and my interpretation. Let me know what you think and what your interpretation of my visions may be in the comments down below. Spirit shows me a vision of both popes, both previous popes, that is, Pope Benedict and Pope Francis. Why, though? I can only imagine that maybe Spirit's bringing them to my attention would only be because something from their past perhaps is going to come up in the near future. Just a thought here, friends, just a thought. Perhaps again, maybe we find out there's some kind of connection to those files, to those Jeffrey files that are about to be released, so they tell us. So I bet that it could also be that. It could be that. And I know both popes are no longer with us, of course, but it also feels like they will be coming back temporarily. It's like, they're coming back as if they're back, but they're not back. So I feel like, again, a lot of media talk about Pope Benedict and Pope Francis. It'll be interesting to see how that actually plays out. And of course, anything that were to come up, the Vatican would, of course, deny if it was something negative. And speaking of popes, we don't really hear very much. We hear very little about the new pope. But soon, we will. We'll hear a lot. And I feel that I connected with this energy of this very angry man who's like watching this new pope very closely in an attempt to bring some type of harm to him in some way or another. I do feel that the pope will manage just well with his security team or what have you. And this could take place in this coming holiday season, during, the mass and everything they do at the Vatican Square and such. St. Peter's Square could be related to that. So we're going to be hearing a lot more about the Vatican and the previous popes in the very near future. I feel that there's going to be some type of a remapping of the Middle East. I know it may sound a little strange, and I actually don't feel like it has anything necessarily related to conflict and the taking of somebody's land, even though, Israel is sure claiming a lot of land right now and will continue to claim that land. And yes, that could be part of what I'm seeing and feeling. Israel stretching out its borders, which they are going to do. and placing claims on land, especially land that they're going to end up in the future. You'll see they're going to end up mining oil and other precious resources there. You wait, you watch, you see. That's what's going to be part of it. And it's not just Israel. I feel that the coming together of borders, almost like uniting two countries together or something. It was really strange. Perhaps maybe connected again back to Syria. Maybe a connection between Syria and Turkey. And at the same time, speaking of Turkey, I feel Turkey is going to make attempts in claiming some type of land or extending borders. So we're going to have to see how that plays out. And we will have to wait, a little while to see how that plays out. But also, again, this does feel to me like a change is going to take place in the future with the current maps that we look at now when it comes to the Middle East. That maps are going to change quite a bit. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects. The other feeling I have on this is some of this could also be related to some of the shifting of the climate and of the earth that also causes part of the maps to change in the Middle East. Infrastructure collapses is something that I've been feeling for a while now, as you know, if you've been watching me long enough. And we have seen it play out a little bit, throughout this year in many, many places. Especially after severe weather events, destroying many roads, bridges, and dams this year. But come 2026, friends, 2026 is going to be a huge year and focus when it comes to infrastructures across the globe. That includes power grids, Spirit just said in my ear. Don't forget the power grids. So a lot of focus on that, likely because things are going to happen to those grids. And that's not even in my notes here, but I see a lot of problems, yes, with power grids. Puerto Rico, we already know, has a fragile power grid, but I feel like there's something big going on with that and an emergency to shift their power to something different, new, better. And then also I see problems, all those islands in the Caribbean. Cuba, major issue with their power grid, people sitting in the dark for long, long periods of time. So power grids are going to be a big one next year. Even towards the end of this year, before 2025 comes to a close, we're going to see some of these structures collapse and problems with structures. A few months ago, I had a vision of a really huge bridge collapsing, if you recall. And I had no explanation for how it collapsed. I just saw it collapsing. As far as, I didn't see anything hitting it. I didn't feel like anything was taking it down, like an explosion or a missile or whatever. That came into fruition just last week in China. That long new bridge that they built just suddenly collapsed, likely due to poor construction. Well, I see another incident like this playing out, exactly like this playing out. And it could actually be perhaps the same bridge. I imagine, I don't think the whole bridge, just part of the bridge collapsed, but they're going to try to repair it, of course. It's a brand new bridge. So I believe that they're going to have more problems with that bridge. And that bridge is going to collapse again. But I see this playing out somewhere else too. So perhaps another bridge somewhere that is recently constructed or recently under construction collapsing. Might even collapse during construction, sending, many workers that are on the bridge working plunge down below. That comes to me just now too. We are going to see a record amount of issues around both bridges and dams. Oh, damn, we are. And this includes ramps and overpasses as well. Highway overpasses and such. In one of my visions, I saw one of these overpasses collapsing to the ground. It actually reminded me of California quake. What was that, decades ago? The 80s maybe? Can't recall. Was that San Francisco? But I remember, I was young, maybe a kid, and I remember seeing the collapsed overpasses onto the road. It reminded me of that. So this could be a massive earthquake that causes these roadways to buckle, overpasses to collapse, and even a bridge to collapse from a severe swaying from the earthquake and the bridge collapses. Not sure where this is, but a lot of damage to the infrastructure from this coming earthquake. That's what it feels like to me. And I feel like there's some type of issue with a very large bridge that goes into New York City. I believe it may be the Washington Bridge, perhaps. But in my vision, I felt that the bridge was closed down, of course, causing a complete traffic nightmare for at least a day, but perhaps even weeks. Weeks of this bridge being closed for some type of repairs, emergency repairs. Separately, I also keep seeing visions of the London Bridge. And I feel something big is going to happen around the London Bridge. I'm not sure what. This could also cause a closure to take place of the London Bridge. Now, years ago, I was hearing that song, London Bridge is Falling Down, which was actually code word for the Queen's passing. And it wasn't long after I was hearing that song that the Queen passed, which we predicted, even the time period, which is crazy. Some people say she was gone before that. Conspiracies. So separately, I see a massive dam that cracks. And in my vision, I saw the crack in the dam, and I was watching the water like seeping out little by little, and then more and more water was seeping out. And I was just watching in this anticipation for whatever's about to happen. You know how you just watch something anticipating that something big's about to happen with this? Well, and then it did. I saw it crack open, and this massive tsunami wave broke through, submerging villages down below, and the water washing away thousands. Felt like thousands of people affected by this, big time. So I believe that this may actually be the Three Gorges Dam in China. It's the one that came to me. And if not, one similar or equivalent to the Three Gorges Dam in China. I also see some type of issues with the Hoover Dam. The Hoover Dam's not that far from me. Which also, I feel like the Hoover Dam, whatever's happening with that, it causes a temporary closure. I saw visions of detour signs, like people trying to go visit the Hoover Dam, and there were detour signs not allowing folks to get close to the dam, basically, especially from one side more than the other side. Whatever that means, I've never been there. I should go down there and check that out sometime. Up there, I think, as it would be up. I don't know, it would be down. Yeah, down there. I also see issues with a large dam in India. And I feel that this is going to be sabotage of some sort from the inside. We'll have to see how that is. And I feel that this dam is connected to both India and Pakistan. But India has control and a stronghold on this bridge. So we'll have to see how that plays out. And now is definitely through 2026 is the time to really watch infrastructures as things begin to crumble in a way that we haven't witnessed probably in our lifetimes. Now through 2027, we are going to see major shifts and changes in leadership across the globe. I predicted this in the past, of course, even for 2025's predictions. And we've witnessed so many leaders and people in power just following one after another, many of them passing away. We've seen leaders, being taken out, like literally. This feels much bigger to me. Big enough to actually bring shifts in nations and relationships between nations in a good way. It feels better in the long run to me when this all takes place. And I see a change happening up north in Canada. People really wanting Carney out of there completely. Worse than Trudeau. Like, they're going to really want him out of there. And I feel a big divide is going to happen in the future for Canadians. As strange as it may sound, I feel at one point, there's like two leaders happening in Canada. Perhaps part of the Canada breaks off. I can interpret it that way. Into its own separate little union. I just felt like at one point in the future, there'll be two leaders in Canada. Very strange. Now, I also feel by 2027, we are going to see a shift in power right here in the United States. I predicted back in 2016 that Trump would serve 2 terms and pass away in the 3rd year of his 2nd term. That would be 2027. And I feel both the leaders of China and the leader of Russia will also be out by 2027, as I have previously predicted, likely due to some type of really serious health issues, or actually even literally being taken out in some form or another. And I also see changes in power in the Middle East. Many of the people of Israel want Netanyahu out, and they're going to get their wish eventually. And I feel that he will be out hopefully much sooner than later, but by late 2026. I see changes in power in Turkey, changes in power in Iran, and I see the fall of the Ayatollah. I don't know how he's fallen, but literally Spirit's got a good sense of humor. Him tripping and falling and rolling off the edge of a cliff. So I don't know how to interpret that exactly, but that's the vision. The Ayatollah trips, falls, and rolls off the edge of a cliff. So I would take that as a fall of his power. That's how I would interpret it. And I'm just getting this now, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. This is also a time for new leaders to step up. This is a time for new leaders to step up, and we're going to see much younger leaders attempting to get into power positions, which is probably going to be a good thing in the long run. Many of them will actually get into power, and many of them will do a great job when they do sit in those powerful seats. Speaking of younger leaders, just to go here for a moment, not all are going to succeed, like the coming mayor of New York City that people are really upset about across our country here in the United States. And he could be actually forced to resign or even be taken out, in some form or another, taken out of this world completely. And I feel like he's not going to last long. Maybe a year, just over a year. So by 2027, that new mayor of New York City is going to be gone. Perhaps corruption, who knows? But by the time we reach late 2027, the leaderships across the globe are going to look different than they do right now. And different in a much more positive way. We need to hold that into the light together. And that's what I have for you as far as the visions and predictions that I have come up with in this week that Spirit has provided me with. And now I'm going to go over to answering a few questions. Starting with this first question. What is in the mesa on Skinwalker Ranch? Now, a lot of our listeners, viewers and subscribers have no idea what Skinwalker Ranch even is. Remember, we got people all over the world that watch this channel. So just to touch on that just a moment, Skinwalker Ranch, go look it up for yourself. I'm sure there's tons of videos on YouTube. The television show they do is pretty awesome. Actually, I haven't watched it. There's probably a new season that I haven't watched. I'll have to look that up. But Skinwalker Ranch is very creepy. And we have a version of that right here in Sedona, Arizona called the Bradshaw Ranch, where I've done videos on that and had really creepy experiences there and experiences that have me not going back. Although I really should go back and do a whole documentary thing on it. But I won't go at nighttime, that's for sure. I'll never go back there at nighttime. Things have happened, and they are in my past videos. You can look that up. So there's something in the mesa at Skinwalker Ranch, which is up near Utah or in Utah. It's ancient technology that goes back to ancient Atlanteans, and the government's aware of it. It's technology that powers things up. It's not a UFO that many people claim, but it's more like a power plant, like a amazing power plant that they should dig up and use for free energies. But that's what's there at the Skinwalker Ranch Mesa. Next question. Do you think that the reason some of your visions or predictions are off in the timing may be part of the fact that we are not in a 13-month calendar? I do not. The hardest thing, and ask any good psychic that does predictions, the hardest thing to do is put a timeline on things or a date on things. And we've done really well here, the spirits and I and all of you with timelines and dates, and I've given you important dates that ended up being big events, even going back to 2020. I forget what the date was, but I mentioned an important date and predictions, and that ended up being the date they announced, the 2020 bug as a world pandemic. It has nothing to do. We follow the 12-month calendar now. That's the 3D matrix that we are now currently in. So that would have nothing to do with it. But hey, that's a good question. Thanks for asking. Will the UK, the United Kingdom, have an election in 2026? Well, I know that Starmer, isn't it Starmer? He's another one that'll be out. He might be the one that resigns, because not long ago I saw a shocking resignation of a leader. And I thought that it could either be Starmer or Macron in France. Could be both of them, actually. And I don't know what your election cycle is over there in the United Kingdom. If you do have normal elections in 2026, then yeah, your elections will continue to go on. But as far as your leader's concerned, I don't see him being around much longer either. There's a lot of corruption around him, too. I don't know if that's corruption will come out, but the people are going to demand that he's removed. And a lot of this is going to have to do with the immigration and the protests and the problems with the not-so-legals that are causing issues in the United Kingdom and across the globe, especially the ones in Dearborn, Michigan. Next question is, do you see a fear attack? They use the T word. We won't say the T word because the algorithms don't like that word. So we say fear. Do you see an attack? And we could just say attack on New York City. Well, I don't know. You must not have been following me long, but I've been talking about New York City for a while. Seeing things with the subway system, a feeling that there's people hiding in the subway systems, sleeper cells that are waiting to be activated. I had visions of people literally coming out of the sewers and out of the subways. So yes, something's going to happen. And likely that could be a lot of what happens with this new mayor that goes in next year. And part of the reason why they want him out, because we know that these attacks that do come to New York City are going to be connected right back to Islam, 100%. And you shouldn't worry about that. You should just be mindful if you're out and about and always know that you're safe and the spirits and your guides are always protecting you, and that shall be the case. Should I worry about a tsunami in Fort Lauderdale, Florida from December to the first week of January? Thanks. Wow, you're really concerned about that? No, you should not be worried. Have a great vacation in Florida. And regardless of where you are in the world, you should not really be worried or concerned about these events. If it's in your soul contract and you're meant to be in that event, there's no way out. Now, if you're not following your intuition and your free will, because a lot of people are following their intuition and getting away from coastlines or places, that'd be different. Now, also, if you live along the coastline, you might be on vacation when a tsunami hits. You should not live in the fear of that happening, or otherwise you're going to create a scene where you are in it when it happens. So don't do that to yourself. Next question is, what is it about Elon Musk that you can't pinpoint? Well, I can't pinpoint it, so I don't know. What is it that bothers you about him? Why do you think he is bad? Thank you very much. Well, because I'm intuitive, and my intuition has told me that from the first day that he was thrown in front of our faces. And then when you go down the rabbit hole and look about his mom and his dad's and his grandfather, and you look at the history, he doesn't come from good people. And I've always said that he was an alien. And people would say, why do you say that? I'm like, I don't know. And this was 10 years ago. I don't know. I just feel it. I remember when he was on Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan's like, well, how do you do everything that you do? And he straight-faced says it's because I'm an alien. There's things that aren't good about him. There's also a book that was written. I talked about this on Tea Time. What was the name? Mission Mars, maybe? The Mars Mission? Written by the NASA guy from Germany. The N. We won't say that word either. Oh, what was his name? I can't think of his name. I'm drawing a blank. But you don't have to put it in the comments, but y'all know. There's a book by him. And in that book, he talks about a man that's going to come along that goes to the moon or Mars, and his name's Elon. Kind of like the books I showed you before, Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. Yeah, kind of creepy. I don't know what it is. I go with my intuition, and my gut's always right. And he's surrounding us with satellites and things that he is doing aren't all positive. Look at what the electric cars, for example, look at the slavery in making those batteries for those cars. Good people don't do that. Will Australia and New Zealand, you're thinking of your neighbor, how sweet of you, be invaded and taken over by the Chinese People's Liberation Army in the future? No. You're already taken over by China. I mean, in a roundabout way. That's what they want. They get what they want. But I could see some type of tensions building between Australia and China, but China's not going to attack your country. I have no worries about that in the near future. Will Ireland have a new government soon? Oh, I bet you all would love that, wouldn't you? And getting rid of immigrants, you're not going to get rid of them. It's not happening. They're there to take over. They're everywhere to take over, even in our country, every country. It's not going to be that easy to get rid of them. It's going to cause more conflict and more heads butting than anything. But as far as new government, I see, again, more major protests breaking out in Ireland and a more push to get rid of the leaders that are there now. I see people holding signs and protests that say resign, toss them out. So there will be a change come mid to late 2026. So hang in there, friends in Ireland. And I think that sums it up for today's content. Keep it a little bit short. It's not short, but keep it a little bit short. I have a lot more questions, and I do questions as much as I can on Tuesdays. Don't leave questions in the live premiere chat rooms, because I have somebody that goes in there and asks the same question 10 times in the live chat. These videos are pre-recorded and uploaded. So the chat that goes on during the live premiere is just the chat in the chat room. I am not live. Just the video is live. It's like a movie premiere. It is a content video premiere. So I thank you all. And if you do have a question, you can use the letter Q followed by your question down below in the comment section. But I already have a ton of questions to catch up to, so you might want to hold off on your question for a while. Other than that, friends, thanks so much for hanging out in the Love Shack, baby. Until the next time, be sure to check out the newsletter down below in the description. Sign up for that free newsletter. I'll be doing a special private event of forecast for 2026 sometime in December. And that will be exclusive. Only those that are part of that will be able to see it. Because what goes on YouTube is going to be different. It's going to be split up in different things, and I'll be working on that as soon as I come back from holiday next weekend. Well, holiday starts Sunday, and today's just Thursday. Well, actually, holiday starts Saturday night. But I will do that. Thank you to all the supporters and that make this free content possible for everybody else. I thank you with infinite love and gratitude. The members of the Subscribe Star Awaken Your Spirit community and the members and monthly supporters of the YouTube community and all the subscribers of this channel and all the other channels. I usually and I wanted to put this out there real quick too. I usually upload my stuff to Spotify, but I've been having a problem with Spotify because every time I upload my stuff, I get a copyright saying that my music's copyrighted. My music in my videos is not copyrighted. It is Apple iMovie copyright-free music. And it's getting so frustrating every week to have to file papers and fight it. And I'm getting to the point where I might not upload there anymore. So keep that in mind. But you can find all the links down below in the description. Till the next time, friends, sending you much, much love. Much, much love. Remember to be bold, be true, be kind. Be you, baby. Let your light shine brightly and strongly. And have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste. And much love, friends. Much love.